Mark Simmonds is a senior marine scientist at Humane Society International based in the UK. He calls Japan's move historic and says it has global implications for the whaling industry.
As far as many of us are concerned, that they've been commercial whaling for many decades. They've just been calling it scientific research, and that, of course, has been much disputed. But given that they have decided to leave the Whaling Commission, then they probably have to move themselves out of the Southern Ocean, which they've also announced. It's a highly protected area, and they don't have the cover, if you like, of the Whaling Commission and the scientific research behind them. So this is very historic. This is a very big change in the whole whaling situation. It has global implications.
Well, what recourse does the international community have? There are other international bodies or groups, like there is one involving the Nordic countries. Could Japan simply join one of them or just be on its own?
There is really only one international body that deals with the conservation of whales and with whaling, and that is the Whaling Commission. That is the International Whaling Commission. So it's not very clear that they have anywhere else really to go except to do something themselves, which they seem to be talking about limiting to their own waters. But there's obviously an issue with that as well, because, of course, the whales don't abide by boundaries drawn in the sea. Whales are typically highly mobile, highly migratory species. And so they move through international boundaries, they move through national waters. And so anything where a country is talking about whaling in its own waters has to be of concern, and particularly, of course, if it sets a precedent whereby other countries then follow suit. And we could then have a whole group of countries doing the same thing. And then we have whaling breaking out of any sort of international control, and we're going back towards the bad old days of the previous century, of course, when many whale populations were decimated.
So what can the international community do to change Japan's mind?
Many countries have been talking to Japan and arguing with Japan and cajoling Japan and trying to persuade them across many decades to move away from this practice. Now, with them standing outside of the Whaling Commission, that dialogue obviously has to go somewhere else. But we would expect now, particularly as countries and their representatives start to return after the holidays, for many of us, back to their capitals, we would expect more and more countries to step up and to remonstrate with Japan and make it very clear that any whaling that goes on, whether it's inside national jurisdictions or not, needs to come under the jurisdiction of the International Whaling Commission as the recognized body, the body which is recognized by international laws.
What is the single biggest concern that you have with all of this?
The single biggest concern is that other countries would follow suit, and then we lose control, total control of the situation. The Whaling Commission works on a whole range of issues, not just whaling, but increasingly it works on the modern threats that are facing whales and their relatives in all the world's oceans and even some of the big rivers as well. And we really, really need that work to go on. And for that to be effective, we need international collaboration. We need more countries working together, not countries breaking away because they're not getting exactly what they want. We need the exact reverse of that, more international collaboration.